So today we're talking about Resident Arceus again. This game, we'll be talking about the good and the bad. Would I want to get this game in the future? Well, This might be the first Pokemon game I might buy in 4 or 5 years. Today we're talking about the good and the bad about Resident Arceus, and the mixed, the good, the bad, and the mixed and the ugly. So the good. The game is very immersive with your Pokemon. There's no random encounters, as I've seen. All of the Pokemon are actually roaming around the wild, like actual animals would be. They added some more really good evolutions. Of course, some really bad ones, like the Quillfish evolution. But a lot of the evolutions and new forms in this game are actually pretty good. They'll probably be pretty well received and further down the Pokemon line. But there are some like the Poke and the Ogre forms, which are basically like the black and white, versions of course, Kyurem, the second forms of Reshiram, the fused forms of Kyurem and Reshiram and Zekrom. But a lot of the new Pokemon designs are pretty alright to good. Good. It also shows up a history about the Pokemon. And basically, you go around, catch Pokemon, and the thing is, during the battle, you can actually move around during the battle. And you actually have a health battle, so you, as a person, can take damage from the overworld and other Pokemon. I think that's a very neat new idea. They also brought back character customizations as well. So that's a lot of the good. Pokemon Battle, they definitely have better animations than Sword and Shield, which is actually a step up from Sword and Shield's piss poor animations. Well, Pokemon's attacks actually hit each other and stuff. This game, in terms of animations from the Pokemon, is certainly a step in the right directions. Then we have the mediocre ones, some of the Pokemon designs are not meh. They look pretty okay. Of course, the soundtrack is as good, but again, most Nintendo games have good soundtracks, so it's kind of pretty hard to make a Nintendo game of a bad soundtrack. Heck, even games like Bubsy 3D have decent soundtracks and OSTs. So if Bubsy 3D can have a decent OST, and a game like Sonic 06 can have a good OST, that doesn't really say much about the game's OST because Nintendo and Game Freak and the composers typically deliver very good OSTs. Which a lot of the OSTs are basically like remixed versions of Gen 4 music. And also, the plot is basically, but we have the bad, the graphics. There was no excuse for a game in 2022 to look this bad. I know I said it before. When the game was announced, I was like, Resident Arceus looks horrible. The graphics looks horrible. And I still stand by that. Resident Arceus looks abysmal. It looks like a PS2 game. And even sites like Forbes are even saying there was no excuse for the graphics to look this bad. The Pokemon animations are better than Sword and Shield, but if you compare it to the new Kirby game, okay, which is also coming out this year, people will be like, but graphics don't matter. The gameplay matters, okay? But Pokemon should be evolving graphically like every other Nintendo series, like every other gaming franchise. Okay? This looks like a PS2 version of Pokemon, okay? And we can compare it to other games. So we have the new Kirby game. But of course, Kirby has a different art style, but this is the new Kirby game. Okay, coming out 2 months after Resident Arceus. Look at these textures in the new Kirby game. Of course, you have your Kirby cartoony art style, but Kirby looks miles better than Resident Arceus. I'm just saying, Kirby in the Forgotten Land looks better. This is another scene from Kirby in the Forgotten Land. This was in the original trailer. Forgotten Land looks better than Resident Arceus. And they designed like a whole city and stuff for Forgotten Land and stuff. And this game looks better than Resident Arceus. Of course, the game does not look like, of course, a hugely graphically impressive PS4, Xbox One game, but it still looks way better. And this is the Kirby team's first attempt at making a 3D Kirby game. And it already looks better for a company that's been doing it since 2014. And even the mainstream media is even saying this. Where they're the ones who are defending the graphics of Sword and Shield, saying it's no excuse for Resident Arceus to look that bad. There was no excuse for a game like Resident Arceus to look that bad. And of course, we have, Zelda Breath of the Wild. Came out in 2013 for the Wii U, and of course, Nintendo Switch. Breath of the Wild, of course, has its own art style and everything, but Breath of the Wild looks miles better. This is the game that, of course, everybody is comparing it to. Everyone is comparing, Pokemon to. Breath of the Wild, of course, has its own unique art style, looks miles better than Pokemon. Okay? Looks miles better. And you don't need to have every single Pokemon game in the game. Okay? I've accepted that. You don't need to have every single Pokemon game. As long as you give us good animations. And, of course, a good story and new and memorable Pokemon that are good and good looking graphical art and a good looking art style. Resident Arceus looks way worse than Breath of the Wild. Okay? And of course, we have the new Sonic game with the competitor to. Okay, there's a new Sonic game coming out in 2022. Okay? Actually, Resident Arceus looks like Sonic 06, which is laughable, but this is the new Sonic game. The new Sonic game, okay, this is also coming on the Switch as well, Sonic Frontiers. I think this is on the next-gen consoles as well. They might have put this on the next-gen consoles as well, so it's kind of pretty. People say, well, it's unfair, but the game's also releasing on the Switch. This is Sonic Frontiers for the, Sonic Frontiers, the newest Sonic game in the Sonic franchise, and this game is basically an open-world Sonic game. We don't know if the game will suck or not, but this game looks miles better than Resident Arceus. Miles better. And here's the comparison I always like to put in comparison to. Pokemon versus Hyper Dimension Neptunia Rebirth. Okay. This is basically Pokemon Sword and Shield graphics. It looks like a PS Vita game. This is a PS Vita game, of course. This is the Windows version. This is what Resident Arceus' graphic. This is basically, if you compare this to Pokemon, this is basically the bow Pokemon has put on. And the Neptunia series is a series that has a very low budget compared to Pokemon. A very small group of people work on these games, as the small Japanese studio makes these games. So we can excuse the bad graphics in these games because it's an indie studio making Neptunia. Okay? And obviously people buy them because they're still making Neptunia for the PS5. But it still looks better than Pokemon Sword and Shield. And of course Pokemon Resident Arceus, which is of course a $1 billion company versus an indie studio. This is just so laughable at this point. The graphics of Pokemon Sword and Shield. So, yes, I have praised some improvements of Resident Arceus. But the worst part about Pokemon still is the graphics and animation. They really need to improve on this. You can look up PS2 and PS3 games, Sonic 06, This game is, one of the most infamous games of all time. Okay? Even Sonic 06, a game full of glitches and bugs, looks the same. And it looks like... Actually, I think Resident Arceus is back in the same power as games like Sonic 06. Sonic 06 came out 14 years ago. And I really think Sega should remake Sonic 06 and not rush it out. I think Sega should remake Sonic 06 because Sonic 06 is a game that had a lot of potential to be a good game. But they rushed it out and it became a pile of garbage. Pokemon is going to become basically giving the same reputation as Sonic. And you're going to have people defend the graphics of Resident Arceus. Again, in the video, I praised some of the improvements for Resident Arceus. Game Freak is actually listening. But like Paper Mario and other franchises, why stop there? Why stop there? If you really want to make a game look good, put put effort into your graphics. Okay, make a game that people will actually remember. All you have to do is compare Pokemon Legends Arceus to the new Kirby game, the new Sonic game. What games in the same type of, you know, in the same type of graphic or art style, of Pokemon versus Kirby versus, of course, Zelda. And once Zelda Breath of the Wild gets like its first screenshots, the second Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, we'll of course compare that to Legends Arceus as well. So that's basically about this video. Goodbye.